Okay, so I have been playing a little bit of golf recently, and the other thing that I've been doing is I've been doing a little bit of sneaky practice. And isn't it funny how we all fall into really bad habits? And there are going to be occasions when your swing just doesn't feel quite right. It feels like you're having to really force it to try and hit it straight. And what I didn't realise is I'd slipped, and I'd slipped in the real simple thing, which is the distance from the golf ball. So what was happening with myself is as I was getting set up, I was starting to get closer and closer towards the golf ball. Okay, and what this was doing is rather than kind of getting closer and creating a better posture, what was happening is the handle of the club was getting more and more vertical. And what this was then doing is I was really struggling with that takeaway move. And all that was happening is because I've got the handle too much up, I was getting the club kind of underplane. And I quite liked that feeling. And I think where it stemmed from was doing some short game practice. So I had to play a pro-am a couple of weeks ago and it didn't go great, but obviously for me, generally ball striking, irons and stuff is generally very good. It's more around the green. And I was starting to practice trying to get the club shaft more and more vertical, and no, it wasn't working. And it's funny, I just sort of went away from the fundamentals. So what you need to do as a point of reference is you need to make sure every time you're getting set up that the club shaft is pointing towards your belt line. Because if you can do that, then you're going to avoid doing any of this sort of unnecessary wrist motion. And the second thing that you want to do then is you want to make sure in your posture you feel like your arms are nice and straight. And imagine that if you've got a heavy club, like a heavy bar, it feels like it's pulling you down and over the ball. And if you can do both those feelings where your arms feel like they hang naturally downward and the club shaft is pointing towards your belt line, that's exactly how that golf club wants to sit. And as long as you're comfy and you feel balanced, then you're absolutely fine. And that's what I started to do. So when I then started going back towards my mid irons, I started to feel, oh yeah, that club's sitting much better. It's not sitting the heel up anymore. The toe's sitting a little bit up in the air. And then as I take it back, I can just keep my arms nice and connected to the side of my body. And I had that takeaway move again that gives me so much confidence. And from there, I can turn back and throw. Now, the club that this has more of an effect on is the driver. Again, you start kind of I was getting a little too close, a little too much this way with the driver, and that was again making this happen. So all I did, shaft towards my belt line, more of a feeling of this way, like the heavy bar, so my arms are hanging more down naturally, and all of a sudden I could take the club back more how I recognise it. And the benefit you see is when you can keep your arms more connected to your body, it keeps the club face squarer. Okay, and I'd fallen into this trap, like I say, with my wedges, where I sort of thought, well, if I get nice and close, I'll guarantee good contact. But actually, it's not the case. If I can get those hands sitting a little bit more natural and just feel like the shaft is more through my belt line, all of a sudden, the club shaft would sit better. I was able to control my swing play, and the quality of contact improved dramatically. Silly mistake, but it happens to all of us. See you soon.